Hi there, it's Evelyne from sciBASICS, working in scientific regulatory affairs since more than 20 years on biopesticides and biostimulants. And yes, nerdy nerd. And today I challenged ChatGPT to see what it comes up with when you enter a very easy question on scientific regulatory affairs. And let's discover this. Today's video is about the question whether AI, so artificial intelligence, is actually of any use in scientific regulatory affairs. And actually that question was asked a few weeks ago by a participant of one of my courses. And I found that very intriguing actually, because that question even never occurred to me. So out of curiosity, I checked it out. And the tool that I used was a Talk AI, which is a sort of ChatGPT. I'm not an expert in AI, so please forgive me if I didn't get that one right. What I wanted to do so is to test actually, and having spoken to another friend and colleague of mine who actually told me that he used AI to prepare his presentations because that made him gain time, and I found that highly interesting. And so what I did, I opened Talk AI and I entered the following question, and you can see it on my screen. How are biopesticides regulated in the EU? Can you prepare a 5-slide presentation? Well, that was the objective. And actually what I got out was a structure. Indeed, it took really only a few seconds to do, and that was quite impressive actually. So ChatGPT came up with 5 slides, and then I looked at the content to see whether that was really something that I could use. And the first slide about the introduction, it reads as follows: biopesticides are regulated under the European Union legislation to ensure safety and efficacy. Yeah, that's a very broad statement, but it doesn't say really much. Biopesticides are derived from natural sources, including plants, microorganisms, or other biological systems. Yeah, that's also very vague. So, okay, let's just pass to the next slide, which would be definition and classification. That already is a title which is kind of misleading, because when we talk about classification of biopesticides or pesticides in general, that is meant to be the classification under the CLP, which is the Classification, Labeling and Packaging Directive in the European Union, and therefore that has to do with, you know, the hazard assessment and things like that. So, okay, but let's just read what it proposes here. It reads as follows: the EU defines biopesticides as plant protection that contain active substances of biological origin. Yeah, it's not always true, but okay. Classification includes microbial plant protection products, pheromones, and botanical extracts. Okay, so that, again, that's a bit of a mismatch or confusion about what classification is, because that is rather a categorization, not a classification, you know, in the sense of product, the CLP. Slide 3 is about the approval process, and here it becomes really interesting because, first of all, when we talk about biopesticides, it implies that we're talking about the product, not the active substance used in the product. And when we talk about biopesticides, we talk about getting an authorization of the product, not an approval. Approval, that term is used for active substances. So again, this is a bit of a not so clear content, because it leads to confusion, because my question was about how are biopesticides, as in biopesticidal products, regulated in the EU, and not how are biopesticides active substances regulated. Never mind. So it reads, slide 3, about the approval process, which should actually be the authorization process. The European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, evaluates the safety and efficacy of biopesticides. No, it does so for the active substances used in biopesticides, not the biopesticides itself. The biopesticides are, the safety and efficacy are actually evaluated at a different level and not at EFSA level. And we will do a video on that later on. It further reads then: a dossier containing scientific data on the product's composition, mode of action, efficacy, and environmental impact is submitted. Here we go for the complete confusion, because a dossier is indeed submitted, you know, which contains product composition, so it's actually mixing up product and active substances dossiers clearly. EFSA assesses then the risk to human health. It further reads non-target organisms and the environment. Yeah, again, on the active substance, not on the product itself. So the approval process, slide 3, got it completely wrong. That is not what I would be saying in a course on the regulation of biopesticides in the EU. Slide 4, the legal framework. Well, that would actually be something that I would put more on top, because the legal framework is actually which sets the scene for all these products. It reads Regulation EC number 1107/2009 lays down the rules for placing plant protection products, including biopesticides, onto the market. That's correct. It emphasizes the need for comprehensive risk assessment and sets standards for labeling, packaging, and residue limits. Yeah, residue limits, there's a separate legislation for that, for packaging as well. That is again it emphasizes the need. No, it's more than that. It actually lays out the rules along which risk assessments needs to be conducted, and there is much more than 1107 to cover all this. So this second sentence is kind of, again, very vague, not very correct, and no. Last slide, slide 5, is then proposed as specific requirements for biopesticides. Now that is very interesting, because it reads, biopesticides must meet the same requirements for safety, efficacy, and risk assessment as conventional pesticides. That's correct. However, specific data requirements and testing methods are adapted to the unique characteristics of biopesticides. That's wishful thinking. That would be ideal if it was like this, and there's work ongoing in the different member states to ensure that, but we are far from being there. So that is absolutely sorry. Yeah, this is a political statement, but by no means a regulatory one. So of course it would be wonderful if that would be working like this, but it's a completely different debate, which we can have at some point if you're interested. Then it proposes a conclusion slide. The regulation of biopesticides facilitates the development and use of safe and effective alternatives to conventional pesticides. Well, there is no regulation of biopesticides. It's 1107. So, and both conventional pesticides and biopesticides are regulated under the same regulation. So I don't know how the regulation of, again, completely wrong. Sorry to say. It then reads the last sentence, the continuous evaluation and improvement of regulatory measures contribute to the sustainable and responsible use of biopesticides. No comment. That doesn't mean actually anything, to me at least. So that's it. The content of, or the result of using AI in scientific regulatory affairs, and I must say that the verdict is rather grim, because you can't use any of it really. So I'm afraid I have to do that presentation all by myself from scratch. I also had tested it for some other things, to set up a structure of a presentation on a subject that is less technical, I would say, and there I must say it was really good. So the big advantage of this, if it would work really properly, or if the content was up to standard, it's the speed. I mean, you have to do a presentation and you just enter the question, and if it can provide you only, with the structure of the presentation, it will save you time. However, at this point in time, seeing this on a very easy question actually, ChatGPT will never ever replace a proper consultant work like myself, to do a proper presentation which has correct content. So I thank you very much for watching or listening. If you like the content, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and check out our website and our LinkedIn profile, because there are regular updates, usually twice a week. And if you would like us to produce some content on a specific topic that you might have on biostimulants or biopesticides, just let us know. We will be happy to tackle it just the way we did now. And see you soon. Bye for now.